Now, the Purple Takeover begins. Brought to you by LifeBridge Health.
All right, welcome into this special edition of Purple Takeover that continues on the CBS News Baltimore stream. The breaking news that we have been following all night long. Head coach John Harbaugh and the Ravens parting ways after 18 seasons. Harbaugh, after another letdown, call it what it is, fired as head coach in Baltimore. Sure to have a long list of suitors, though, in a coaching carousel throughout the NFL that has a wide array of openings right now. Some more could come. He could find a job quick if he wants it. The question is, though, who is coming to Baltimore now?
That's the big question. I mean, this is a Ravens franchise that has only had 3 coaches in its history. So this coaching search is something that is not something that Steve Bisciotti and his team do often. But that is the reality of where Baltimore is right now after a disappointing 2025 season.
Hey, Rick Ritter, Alex Glaze. We are going to be joined by Super Bowl champs Torrey Smith and Qadry Ismail. Let's bring in Torrey Smith right away. Torrey, you had a chance to play for Harbs. You know Harbs very well. You also have your pulse on this locker room. Your reaction to when you heard this news, and did you think it was time for change?
Man, I was definitely shocked. I was actually driving in the car, and my phone starts blowing up, and I'm like, what's going on? You know, and they said they got fired Harbs, and I'm like, man, this is kind of crazy. You're shocked because of who it is, understanding what he's capable of, what he's been able to do as a leader in this league. However, I played, right? I know in this business, if you don't perform to the level at what and ultimately reach the ultimate goal, like change will happen. And so, yes, I understand why it happened, and I'm not a person that's like, man, it shouldn't have happened. Because the crazy thing is, you know, we're talking about he's a field goal away from winning the division again, right? Yet we're here talking about change. So, but at the same time, there are so many great players who were one play away from being a special player or getting it done. So that's just the nature of the business. But for Harbs, I know he'll land on his feet. You know, he's a guy that I have a lot of love and respect for as a coach and as a man. But for the Baltimore Ravens, sometimes there's just simply becomes the time where you have to hear a different voice. And there's a sense of urgency with this organization to get it done right now.
Steve Bisciotti certainly in win-now mode. I want to bring in Super Bowl champion Qadry Ismail. And Q, when you heard this news, were you shocked at all by, after 18 seasons, this being the time for Steve Bisciotti to go look for a new leader of his football team?
I thought that when he mentioned early on in the owners meeting and they had a sit down with Ravens in-house television, and they talked about just the draft process and 30 years of looking ahead. And he was like, no, I'm not looking ahead. I don't have 30 years to wait. I want to win now. And so in my mind, I thought that was the key moment to say, look, we got a Super Bowl ready team. Let's go out there and do it. John, along the lines, kind of played the coaching, hey, it's about the process and all the other coach speak things. But I think for Steve Bisciotti, it's win now. They didn't win now, and they obviously parted ways.
And Q, when we're talking about that meeting that Bisciotti had with Ravens media in the offseason, you also have to go into that conversation that John Harbaugh had as well and was asked, is this Super Bowl or bust? And he almost scoffed at the notion that that's where this team is at. You have to imagine that disconnect is ultimately what led to this decision.
So that's where I think, for John Harbaugh, he's always saying about your words matter, your intentions matter. And why not have the ultimate intention to win a Super Bowl? To say that you have the best quarterback in the league and arguably the best quarterback of all time, well, if you can declare that, you should be able to declare, hey, watch out AFC North, we're going to win it. Then watch out whomever we face in the playoffs, we're going to run through you and we're going to get to San Francisco. And at the end of that game, we're going to hoist up the Lombardi. That's the intentions. Those are the thoughts. But when you start off with a record of 1-5 and your season starts to tailspin the way it did, obviously ending in Pittsburgh with a missed Tyler Loop, obvious chance to win the game, but did not get it done, well, things have to change. You can't remain the same. And I think that's where Steve Bisciotti made the ultimate decision for himself and his organization.
We talk about meltdowns, 46 fourth-quarter leads blown under head coach John Harbaugh, tied for the second most in the NFL. From one Super Bowl champ to the next, let's bring Torrey Smith back in. Torrey, The question is now for Ravens fans and for this organization, where do they go from here? When you look at candidates, who's available, maybe a couple of names we haven't talked about, who do you think or who would you like to see come in and take over for Harbs?
Man, that's a tough question because I haven't even been able to process what's going on and think about who's even out there. I think when you talk about this team in general, you think of stability, right? So you know this is an organization that's committed to the process and allowing people to build. Ultimately, where we are with this sport in 2026, I would like to think you go with somebody that you have a little bit of knowledge about. And Anthony Weaver is a guy that comes to mind, the DC down in Miami, as a guy that had great leadership qualities, a guy that understands his team, understands his culture, and a guy that can definitely come in and lead this group. And I know it sounds crazy saying this because, Coach Harbaugh is a guy that can lead the guys and create a vision as well. Right? It's one of his best skills. But the reality of it is if there's a new voice, there's new standards. There are things that you can't do as a coordinator, and you have certain type of powers when you are a head coach. You learn and you get to figure out how certain guys work and what you have to do to kind of get them going. And a guy that has already had an inside look at that, I think that would be a great option for this team going forward.
Anthony Weaver, a guy who played here in Baltimore, coached here, knows
highly
Ravens
respected
organization inside and out. We're going to talk more about the future in just a little bit for now. But we want to continue our team coverage. We have Tara Lynch and Dennis Valero with us out in the streets of Baltimore, checking in with you, the fans. And I want to start with Tara because you're hearing from fans tonight, getting that reaction. How are people feeling after the big news, John Harbaugh out as head coach after 18 seasons?
Alex, a lot of fans say that they were happy to see this news. They wanted this new era for the Baltimore Ravens. I even actually informed a couple fans myself of the news this afternoon too. But a lot of people really hoping for that Super Bowl run and say that there needs to be sort of fresh leadership, a new voice in that locker room. Many fans say that they're just hoping to change the culture here in Baltimore, set a new identity for the team. They say they felt this season was disjointed and are hoping the team can play complementary football in all three phases. Overall, fans say that they have a roster to win the Super Bowl, but not the leadership. For many, tonight marks the beginning of this new chapter for a team that has only had 3 coaches in its 30-year history.
As soon as I seen it on Instagram, we were jumping. It was blessed in the city. Great day.
I'm shocked. This is the first time hearing of it.
We know what it is to play like a Raven, but you actually have to come in and really immerse yourself in all that. And I feel like a new face, a new set of eyes would be way better for the team.
As for who should lead the team moving forward, of course, now the Ravens looking for their 4th head coach in franchise history. The fans agreeing with Torrey. There needs to be a defensive-minded head coach. Some people throwing out names like Pete Carroll, the former coach of not only the Seahawks but the Raiders. He was fired yesterday from Las Vegas. And also throwing out a couple of defensive coordinators too, like Brian Flores, who is now at the Minnesota Vikings. So a lot of things to be keeping an eye on here in this week and a couple of weeks to come. We'll be sure to have the latest on air and online. For now, reporting live outside of M&T Bank Stadium, Tara Lynch, WJZ. Rick and Alex, back to you.
You have to figure to come and play with a 2-time MVP. Going to be a highly sought-after job. Tara, thank you. We want to get out to Dennis Valero now live at Jimmy's Famous Seafood, the place to be for Ravens fans. Dennis, what are fans saying out there about this news?
Hey, Rick, just like what Tara has been seeing with fans over in Fed Hill, fans here at Jimmy's also saying that they are looking forward to a fresh start with the Ravens, and we're actually going to bring one in. Adelu actually interrupted his dinner because a lot of people found out during dinner about this news. So first, Adelu, how do you feel about Harbaugh's leaving the team?
Well, for me, he has done a great job, and I think being a head coach has been a lot of pressure. He's won Super Bowls, but it's just one of those times where maybe you need something different, something new. So we're just gonna thank him for all that he has done. Great coach, and try to look forward to the new season now and look at the new opportunities.
And some people that we've been talking to here say, we had the roster, we just needed something new at the top. Do you agree with that?
Yes and no. I would say yes, because, it's always good to have something new, something different. You have to be open to that. But no, because, he's a great coach. So, when you watch great coaches, sometimes they stick to their philosophy or how they play. And, that's what makes coaches great. So, now, it's a different challenge. So, let's see, what we're going to do and what our quarterback and our running backs and the rest of the team are going to do.
Now, obviously, 18 years, that's such a long tenure. Any kind of moments for you that pop out just making you like, wow, that's my head coach right there?
The Super Bowl, with Flacco. So, it's a memorable time. So as a Ravens fan, you always want to look at the great times and times that you can really remember. So, yeah, it's a wonderful time.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people have been bringing that up when I asked that question tonight. Awesome. Well, Adelu, thank you so much for coming here, especially last second, and send it back over to TV Hill.
All right, thank you, Dennis. And we are going to continue our coverage when we come back. We're going to break down some of the possible candidates that should be at the top of the list when we're talking about replacing John Harbaugh. You're watching Purple Takeover.
And now, the Purple Takeover begins. Brought to you by LifeBridge Health.
And welcome back to the Purple Takeover as we continue to follow the news. John Harbaugh out as the Ravens head coach after 18 seasons. And we're hearing from Steve Bisciotti tonight. A short while ago, he released a statement and said in part just how difficult this decision was for him to make, given the tremendous 18 years that he had spent with John Harbaugh and the profound respect that he has for John as a coach, as a great man of integrity. And Bisciotti also went on to say that the challenging but exciting process of identifying the next leader of the Ravens will now begin. And we're also hearing from John Harbaugh tonight, and he says that it was a disappointing decision for him, certainly, but it comes with gratitude and appreciation, gratitude to the owner and organization who are willing to bring in a head coach who made his mark with special team success, and a difficult thing to do, an appreciation for all the moments, all the years that are etched into eternity. But now we're talking about what now is ahead for the Ravens and looking for that next head coach. The interview process, according to Bisciotti, going to begin right away. Who are some of the guys that you're looking for to potentially take over as the Ravens' fourth head coach?
Well, I think something that's very clear is they're going to have the pick of whoever they want, because this is the most attractive job available in the NFL by far and away. The Ravens organization has a phenomenal reputation. You have Lamar Jackson, who's still going to be in his 20s. So I think the question with the Ravens is, do you want the younger up-and-comer guy? Jesse Minter has ties here. He's the defensive coordinator with the Chargers, with John's brother Jim. Is it a Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator for Seattle? Chris Shula, Sean McVay disciple, offensive coordinator for the Rams? Or do you want someone more established? I'd be all for a Brian Flores, defensive coordinator of the Vikings. And I'll throw out the name again. Kevin Stefanski knows the division. Kevin Stefanski is the two-time NFL Coach of the Year and won a playoff game in Cleveland. So he deserves a statue for that alone, and I think it would make some sense.
Stefanski's an interesting name. I kind of agree with that. I think that he's going to get an interview this cycle. Somebody else, Cliff Kingsbury, I think he's absolutely getting an interview. You saw what Kingsbury did in Arizona years ago, what he was able to do with Jaden Daniels as a rookie and elevate his game very quickly, coming in and working with the two-time MVP. That kind of seems like a match made in heaven. Another interesting name to keep an eye on, Matt LaFleur. If the Packers do decide to go in a different direction, and LaFleur, another young offensive mind, becomes available, he would be interesting too.
Absolutely. Well, Torrey brought up this name earlier. Anthony Weaver is the guy that I'm kind of keeping tabs on, because we're talking about Weave, who was here coaching the defensive line not too long ago, now the defensive coordinator down in Miami, is very familiar with this Ravens organization, played here in Baltimore as well, and has that history being a defensive coordinator and coaching at that high level as well. So, Torrey, when we're talking about Weave, that is a name that makes too much sense to me. Do you think he gets a shot? I mean, this is a guy that also received interviews last year when we're talking about the head coaching cycle.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that'll definitely get an interview. But when you talk about it in general, it's like the sky is literally the limit. Like I'm not sure if there's ever been a job that is this good. Because typically when a coach is fired, the team is awful. Like, I'm talking, they're drafting top 10 awful, right? And you're talking about a team that was a game away from going to the playoffs, a team that has a MVP caliber quarterback, a team that has a running back that doesn't age, a team that has the star pieces on the defensive side. I mean, like, there's talent all over the place, like cornerstone key pieces that you have to fill in, because obviously we wouldn't be having this conversation if there was more in the stable. However, this is a team that is I'm getting a GM that's established and stable. Like, this is a really attractive job. I wouldn't be surprised if they go and they pull somebody, a guy like, I think he's a little bit older, and I think Mr. Bisciotti is probably building long term. But this is the type of job that can get someone to leave UNC to come back home and want to coach as well.
He's saying what I just said during commercial break. I think it's interesting. There's a lot of local ties with Bill Belichick.
I think that's just too much of a clown show down in Chapel Hill right now. I don't know.
Right. Some things would have to change, I'm sure.
I don't know if Steve
Bisciotti would be like, you can come, but a certain somebody has to.
I don't know if he wants to bring the show to Baltimore. But Q, I want to bring you in as well, because now we're talking about this decision. It's coming at a time, it's not lost on me. Just last offseason, John Harbaugh received an extension. In 2023, Mike Macdonald was here. This is a guy that a lot of people believed was the natural successor to John Harbaugh. He obviously leaves to go to Seattle. Now we're talking about a Seattle Seahawks team that's the 1 seed in the NFC. Macdonald up for Coach of the Year potentially. I mean, he's obviously having a ton of success. I think he's always going to be the one that got away for the Ravens.
Part of looking at this team and this year, and you add in insult to injury when Mike Macdonald was your defensive coordinator. You saw where the team was before he became the coordinator. You saw how historic the team was when he was in charge of the number 1 team in the league as far as turnovers, as far as points allowed, yards per game. He just had a phenomenal way of having this team on lockdown. But he takes that same attitude and mindset to Seattle. Think about it. The 49ers, Shanahan, his offense is an extremely explosive offense. He held that offense to 3 points. Meanwhile, here in Baltimore, when you go to Pittsburgh, you have an opportunity to take advantage of a toothless DeKalin Metcalf sitting on the sidelines while Aaron Rodgers is struggling to find guys. Well, what do? They wound up putting on a show, enough points to get the victory over a Baltimore Ravens team that failed to get a 3-and-out stop in the fourth quarter to allow Lamar Jackson and company to get a chance for a victory. So all that, I believe, came into play when you're talking about Steve Bisciotti and that difficult decision to let an 18-year coach depart his ways from the Ravens.
All right, Q, putting you on the spot. If you had to make a decision right now, this is up to you. Who are you hiring to lead this team in Lamar Jackson?
I'm definitely bringing in Brian Flores for that first interview, and then get him in a backup interview. I'm bringing in Ian Cunningham, the assistant GM up there in Chicago, to say, okay, hey, what would you do as far as draft and as far as personnel? And I would say, okay, both of y'all, can y'all co-work together? Let's go ahead and bring in a new GM. Let's go ahead and bring in a new head coach. Brian Flores, Ian Cunningham, let's go.
All right. Well, Q wants to just clean house now. I mean, just take a sledgehammer to this thing and start all over. But obviously, this is going to be the most interesting hire. I think everyone's going to be keeping an eye on this move because, as Torrey mentioned, usually when these changes are made, it's when your team is going through dark times. That's not necessarily the case here in Baltimore. This is a team that has a 2-time MVP at quarterback. This is a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, has a Super Bowl roster ready to go. Tim, how long do you think it will be before the Ravens have things in place?
I would think it's going to be at least a week or two. They're going to do their due diligence.
I think that you don't make this decision, though, unless you have a guy.
Well, you're going to have to interview a ton of guys, right? You're going to go through the process and be very exhaustive with all of the potential candidates just to make sure. But you're right. You don't make this move unless you have at least 2-3 guys that you're really, really sure on. You bring them in for multiple interviews. But I'm with you, Alex. This is by far and away the most attractive job opening that's been in the NFL for quite some time because you have the 2-time MVP at quarterback, Lamar Jackson, who's just going to be 29 years old, next week. So you're going to be able to get your pick. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to talk more about Lamar Jackson and the potential influence that he could have on this decision when we continue with our Purple Takeover.
And now, the Purple Takeover begins. Brought to you by LifeBridge Health.
And welcome back to our Purple Takeover. John Harbaugh has been fired after 18 years here in Baltimore. Now the question is, who will be the next Ravens head coach? And Torrey, as we talk about that decision that is going to be coming in the next days or weeks, you have to imagine Lamar Jackson is going to have some say in this next head coach, this decision. Do you believe that the Ravens' two-time MVP is going to have any influence in this decision?
I think he would. But why would you get rid of? You're in win now mode. The number one way to win in the NFL is to have a quarterback that is capable of winning. Right? If you look at any and every team that has won the Super Bowl or is giving you a chance, it's because you have a capable quarterback, and Lamar Jackson is that guy. So now you have to get someone that can help Lamar elevate his game even more and to be the guy at all times that can get them to the promised land. And I think it's crazy saying this, and it's really a stain on his record now because they're going to say, well, he missed the playoffs. Well, Lamar played well enough the second half for his team to win and put them in position, right? History's not going to tell the entire story. But for Lamar Jackson and really any quarterback or any coach coming in, you're going to be extremely excited about having one of the best players in the league on your team.
Okay, put on the Superman cape in the second half. Let's go to Qadry Ismail now. Q, as we bring you back in here. Torrey's talking about Lamar Jackson, the type of influence he could have on this. Our question for you is now, I guess this indicates that they're all in on Lamar for next year. I mean, a $75 million cap hit for next season. Something's going to have to be restructured, but one would assume they're all in on Lamar, that it was almost one or the other in this situation.
Well, I think having Lamar makes this job as the most coveted of all the jobs that are now available. You have a franchise quarterback, and I promise you, coaches that are sitting there out of a job at the other places, they didn't have a franchise quarterback to lead their team. So I think if you even look at, Mike Vrabel, where he had Drake May, I can work around that. So to have Lamar Jackson, I think that coach has to really connect and establish some of his own boundaries that has to be in agreement with what Lamar Jackson is as far as what his visions are, and obviously make it all work.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have more Purple Takeover. Stay with us. And welcome back to our Purple Takeover, guys. We have some time for some final thoughts as we kind of wrap up what has been a crazy day. The news, John Harbaugh out after 18 seasons here in Baltimore. The search for the Ravens' next head coach is underway. The Ravens, one of those franchises that doesn't do this often. Only 3 head coaches in franchise history, and now they're looking for that 4th guy.
Final thoughts?
Look, it was time. John Harbaugh is going to go to Canton one day. He's going to be a Ring of Honor guy in Baltimore. 18 seasons here, where if you went back in time in 2008, you told Steve Bisciotti, you told this fan base, you told John Harbaugh, you're going to have an 18-year run, win a Super Bowl, win 193 games, including the playoffs. All of them would have signed up for it. But that being said, everything has an expiration date, and it felt time. And Rick, we were talking yesterday, it reminds me of the Andy Reid situation in Philadelphia, where Andy Reid got fired, and it worked out well for Philadelphia. Yeah. They won multiple Super Bowls. Worked out pretty well for Andy Reid as well, winning multiple Super Bowls. And who knows, John could go on a run where he ends up landing next.
Yeah, let's not get it twisted. Harbaugh will be the hottest name of this coaching cycle. Just because he will be the hottest name of the coaching cycle does not mean you don't move on from him. This does remind me of Andy Reid in Philadelphia. It ran its course, kept coming up short. Beneficial for both sides. Yeah. I think both sides will have success. The Ravens letting Mike Macdonald walk out of the door is a bigger miss than Tyler Loop's kick on Sunday night. The interesting hire, Bill Belichick. Who do I think they go with? Weaver.
I think this is the most important decision that Steve Bisciotti will make. One of the most decisions probably in franchise history. I mean, this is a roster that is Super Bowl ready. You have a 2-time MVP in his prime. There's no excuse. You have another gold jacket in Derrick Henry right there. This is a roster that is built to win right now. You need the right person to lead this team where you believe they can be.
We said dramatic offseason. Here we go, right?
Here we go. Buckle up, and it's only day 2 of the offseason. Well, that's going to do it for this week's Purple Takeover. For Rick, Tim, Q, and Torrey, I'm Alex. Thanks for watching.